Hi, and welcome to the Godot community. My name is Sahira Dean. I am your high school 2D art moderator. Today's topics are advocacy, community engagement, and creating community. There are different ways to create advocacy in your school or in your community. I guess for me, one of the most important things that you can do is making sure that art is visible. That is definitely a way to advocate for your students, for your program. It allows others to see what you're doing, and gain an appreciation for what you're doing in your classroom as well. So definitely putting on art shows. What we started doing at a couple of art shows last year or the year before was actually having some stations. So there was like a watercolor painting station. There was a colorama station. There was a sculpture station. So it allowed guests and parents and administration to actually create a hands-on piece of artwork at the art show. Another important thing is making sure that you're advertising for your art shows. So coming up with the flyer, whether that's teaming up with the graphic design program or possibly getting a student to make the flyer, but also making sure it's out on time or ahead of time, that students can actually pass out flyers. You can spread the word about coming to the art show or whatever the art event is. But definitely a flyer is one of the most important things you can do for your art show. Another thing is that I started doing was doing a public art, not quite commission, but art campaign each year. So here you see we did these different feathers. We treated the paper with different markers and paint and tissue paper, and then they cut the feathers and assembled them, and then we put them up in the one of the buildings in the school. And it was cool to see students walking by taking selfies, teachers taking selfies, so it became a really nice kind of gift to the building that people did appreciate. Might have to actually seek out. So in my county, they're pretty good about, forwarding information. And then once you participate in that art show, or once you participate that year, you're on their list for getting the emails next year. So doing a quick Google search or, asking other teachers about different competitions is definitely something that you want to do, because once students start winning and getting recognition, that definitely makes your program look good, it makes your students look good, and makes your administration look even better. So here are some different images from some art shows. I held a middle school art show, which was actually a great way to advocate for the program for middle school families that are coming, students that are coming to get to meet the teachers, they get to meet some of the students that are there. So hosting a middle school art show, or even if it's like your feeder middle school or like a community middle school. So if it's like a east, all schools in the east of your county, or the west or the south or the north, or even just all the schools in general. But that's a great way to advocate for your program. Once your students are, once you have the art show locked in date and you have, the parents there, it's also very important to make sure the space looks really good. So making sure that there are labels, possibly refreshments. One thing that we started doing at a previous school was inviting the band or orchestra members to participate in, the event. So, that was awesome for them, because it was kind of like a moment they could showcase their talent as well, but also provide just a nice evening for guests at the art show. We started doing or using the QR code for people to sign up for different foods and, different things you might need. So that was actually really successful, using the QR code. And also we used it to allow students to submit work as well. So if you're not using QR codes, it's really convenient in terms of previewing work, kind of seeing, who's going to come or who's going to attend, who's going to donate what. And then another image from another art show below, which was actually at the school I'm at now. Another way to advocate for your program and for your students is to, again, making sure that the work is visible. So whether that's getting out in the community and showing the work, so hanging work, there are a lot of businesses that you might be surprised if you approach them about hanging work in their space. They more than likely would say yes. And then a lot of times, that communication or that relationship that you develop with that particular business, the word might spread and then you become sought out for hanging your students' work. The library is often a popular place for artists and art teachers and art students to showcase work. So a lot of times we'll tend to show 3D work, and again, making sure that you have labels, so students' names can be recognized by their teachers. And a lot of times their teachers will say, oh, I saw your work in the media center. It looks really cool. It looks really nice. How did you make it? So it sparks the conversation. A lot of times other teachers, like content teachers, might not know that, they have a really talented artist in their classroom. So it becomes a really nice way to promote that student, outside of the classroom. Painting on towels is another popular way that you can kind of advocate. We had a campaign at my old school where we were kind of working in the style of Keith Haring and promoting positive messages in different areas of the school. So leading into different teachers' classrooms, we would kind of create the theme. So there was a culinary classroom, for example. So the theme was food, and working in the style of Keith Haring, students painted those towels. And again, showcasing work as much as possible. These are images in the top right of artwork from my AP students last year. And again, allowing teachers, guests in the building, administrators to see how talented, a lot of your art students are is really important. When you go to conferences and hear about different opportunities for competitions or display, making sure you follow through. So getting information, taking it back to your school, sharing it with your students, sharing it with other teachers is another way to definitely promote and advocate for the arts. So again, getting out in the community, I'm laughing because the picture of the kids, these are actually my two kids. So I have a son and a daughter, Melvin and Abigail. Melvin he'll be 9 soon. Abigail will be 6 soon, which is hard to believe. But they always have come with me, even like when they were little bitty babies in Iraq, they would come with me to different art events, to hang work, to pick up work, to go to different art shows. So, I feel like I'm planting a little tiny seed in them in appreciating art as they grow up, so they love to create things. They are curious about different art materials. I was in an art show one time and we couldn't go because it was freezing cold and my daughter had forgotten her coat at home. So we get all the way to the event and I realized my daughter had left her coat, so we couldn't go. But my daughter was so disappointed that she couldn't see her mommy's artwork in the, gallery. So again, just planting a little tiny seed in them has shown itself as a way to advocate how important art is in our life, but how just planting the little tiny seed in them has budded into something that is definitely very important for them. It's built a connection, to them with art. It's definitely established itself, in them at this point. So my nieces are up. My nieces and nephews spent the weekend with us one weekend, and it was the same weekend that I had to pick up artwork from the High Museum here in Atlanta. And so they helped with taking the artwork down. But it was interesting, just allowing them to touch artwork on the wall and help and assist. just how proud they were in sharing in that moment. So I felt like, that they had just a different connection with art and with the museum and what it stands for and what it represents in the community from that day. So again, just showcasing artwork. So my students in my drawing and painting class did an awesome job. We did hands. I love doing hands in a lot of my classes. So they did such an awesome job doing the hands using graphite. So I put some up in the hallway, and just the response from teachers was awesome. So just, seeing the smile as students, I say, oh, Miss such and such really liked your work in the hallway, or, when they come back to class, they kind of share conversations they've had with different teachers about their work. So it's definitely important to showcase the work. Allowing students to do murals when possible. So this is actually in my classroom, the young girl painting the blue. She's a senior, she graduated, but she had an idea to, kind of leave a piece of her, quote unquote, behind, so represented through her work. So she wanted to kind of fancy the space, so to speak, in my room. So we had a little bit of time at the end of the year, and I told her to go for it. One thing I like to do, or one thing we've done at most of the schools I've been at, is have art students to create and design the Christmas card or the holiday card. And my county actually does a holiday card where they choose an artwork by a student, and they'll print it, and make it like a really big deal for the student. So I feel like I'm lucky in that sense that my county does recognize artists and students in that manner. But even better, at my own school, they do the same thing. So here you have a student. There was a few students that submitted designs, and her design won the holiday card contest. So awesome opportunity for her. And of course, whenever possible, share on your social media platforms, because, I think advocating outside of your school is definitely important as well. So speaking of tweeting, this is actually one of my tweets on the top right screen, where students did some experimental mark making techniques, so there was music, they were kind of painting based on, some of the, the beat and the bass and the moods created in the music. So I was able to take lots of pictures and tweet that out. I even had a student go outside and get some dirt. He felt so compelled, and incorporated that into his artwork. So his hands were dirty at the end. So I actually took a picture of him and his hands and his work and tweeted that out. But just sharing the experience with teachers, administrators, because it is definitely important that they see, what goes on in the art classroom, and some more artwork that's up on display as well. So whenever students do, just a really awesome job, or even if they've grown tremendously throughout a project, or they're expressing, something they're compassionate about, take that opportunity to showcase, that growth, that moment, for everyone to see. When I first started teaching, I think one of the first pieces of advice that was given to me was be prepared to say no. So in saying that, they were saying, don't allow yourself to do too many favors and stuff like that. So where it is important to, know when to say no, and, you can do it not necessarily in a mean way, because you can't do everything. You have to realize that you can't, do every mural. You can't take on every, fundraiser. You just can't, because you'll burn yourself out really quickly. So, but it is important I think, to give back once or twice a year. So this was something that we did one year. The football coach came to us. He wanted the stadium revamped. So, we took some students for about maybe about a week or two, maybe in the hot summers. And we redesigned and kind of beautified the stadium. So it turned out really nice. And again, this was another moment to tweet and to share. And the students were definitely very proud. Every time they went to the football game, or, somebody said something about, oh, that looks really good. There's just that proud moment. You can see it on their faces. So letting everyone know on your social media platforms, definitely, I can't say that enough, to share that great news. It's definitely a way to advocate for your students and your program. So we did a fundraiser one year where we were painting faces. And this is, again, just a way to get your kids visible, to allow them to see that, art can be done, not only on paper, but on walls, on faces. Art can be anywhere, so it allows students to understand the importance of art, the importance of artists. It allows other people to see that importance as well. So there are a couple of tweets that I shared on the screen here. This was actually another fundraiser that we did. We did Shrinky Dink caricatures. So in order to kind of gain a little momentum for the fundraiser, what we did was take two of the school leaders and kind of the popular or well-known secretary and one of the administrators, and we did. I had a student do a caricature, and then she turned that caricature into a Shrinky Dink keychain. So it was a way to, just kind of boost off the fundraiser, because they shared it with other people, so that gained some popularity and momentum with the fundraiser. One thing that I feel is important before different events and field trips and things like that is to allow your students to have some sense of pride and connection. So we started doing and designing t-shirts. So this in the middle, we did like a reverse tie-dye. So everybody brought in a black shirt, and we did bleach. They treated it similar to tie-dye, except we just used bleach. So they used the rubber bands and things like that. We dripped them, hung them. There was a sink right outside of my room, fortunately, so we were able to do a lot of rinsing and hosing off of the shirts. But very cool designs. A lot of students were very intrigued, and where did you get that shirt? How'd you do that shirt? And the sense of pride when the student said, I made it, was awesome as well. So making, again, the art visible, making your students feel more visible and more connected with each other is definitely important as well. So murals was, I think a couple of years ago, my principal was really interested in getting some murals up in the building. So this is one where we had just silhouette figures kind of flipping and doing different things down the hallway. So it really created, a nice sense of movement. They were placed at different heights. And again, we went during class for a couple weeks. And, some people stayed after school, NAHS, National Art Honor Society students helped out, Art Club helped out. So it was a really grand initiative. And, students definitely loved the feedback that they got. And then just, I think the connection that they built with each other in doing the mural throughout the process of creating the mural was also very important and lasting for each of them as well. So I do feel like, these three topics do kind of feed off each other and go hand in hand. So there's a little bit of, repetition in some of the topics, but you can't have advocacy, I feel, without, creating a sense of community. Because once you're advocating for your students go and share with their friends, they go and share with their teachers, they get that feedback from, people that see their art and hear about what's going on. So it just kind of, it's like a pipeline, right? So it just kind of trickles down and trickles throughout the community. So when students get accepted into college, one thing I do is tweet out a selfie or their picture and, congratulations to, XYZ for getting accepted into XYZ University. So advocating, their accomplishments, their, what they're doing, what their hard work has done, I feel is a great way to advocate for just students in general. But then, of course, doing it in your art classroom. So if you do it in front of like a cool mural that you've done, or an artwork that they've created, might be another way to really share some of their talents. Not only are they, good at this, but they're also awesome artists. So take advantage of every opportunity you get to advocate for your students. Going on field trips, I think, is another cool way to build community inside your classroom. Because on your field trips, you build a lot of connections, and students build a lot of connections. They're able to see art outside of their school, outside of their desk, outside their classroom. So depending on how far you're able to go, whether it be to a museum or, a particular site that has really cool murals or artwork, or even if it's like one year we did, me and my coworker took students on a field trip. They had a photo assignment, they had a sketching, a drawing assignment, so making sure that they're getting and taking in the whole experience. A lot of times when we were able to pre-COVID, go on field trips, we would go for a bite to eat at somewhere close by. So also getting them to experience, something other than McDonald's or, the everyday food that they might eat. So sitting down, being served, it just transforms, their whole high school, experience, and them, taking it all in again, I feel is very important. So here we are on a couple of other field trips at the Atlanta Botanical Gardens, at the Embry Museum, and then there was actually a local showdown that we participated in. So here at the bottom are students posing with their trophies. So again, all these pictures actually I pulled from my social media. So taking advantage of, thank you so much for allowing us to go on this field trip, sharing students actually drawing and being engaged, on the field trip, I feel is important to share. But it also promotes your program in a way that students want to take an art class just based on, some of the things they hear about different field trips, different experiences they have in the classroom. So it's a way to create community, not only for the students going on the trip, but also to grow your program, through that advocacy. So here are some more images of other field trips that we went on. So we were actually able to a couple times go into some artist studios. So a lot of times, if you reach out to artists, artists usually are very down to earth and open to you coming into their studio, especially when it comes to students and sharing opportunities and what they do with students. So we were able to get, an artist talk. They were able to go to breakfast. They shared that experience. Riding the bus actually all together is kind of a lot of fun when you're on a field trip and you're going somewhere you want to go. And you're sitting around all your friends. So taking all that experience in, artist tours, getting more information about the artwork that's there, about the show, all that definitely helps to create a sense of community amongst students inside and outside of the classroom. So again, art shows, these are images from an art event that we had. There's actually two. There's a North Fulton art show event, and then images from the middle school art event. So here at the bottom are all the teachers and administrators that came to the show. So the teachers that were responsible for hanging the work or bringing the work to the school, and me and some students actually hung the work. And then if all else fails, do a taco night. So I was able to get, the event catered. It was like a taco nacho bar. But, just providing some really, really nice refreshment, making everybody feel really welcome, having music again, definitely helped to create a sense of community. The students being around to talk about their artwork, to share different things, that they learned throughout the process, to learn or that they've done at the school, meeting each other, all of it is just an awesome experience for students and for their families. So this is another art show, and I think I'm putting all these images in just because I feel like the pictures kind of really capture it all. Like if you could see their faces, just the big smiles they had, the sense of pride that they had in having the art show, and they really, I feel like being in that art program, it does help it creates a sense of family, honestly. Because it's kind of a close knit. I think art classes usually are a little bit smaller. Then you have your specialty classes, you have your 2D, your 3D. So students really get to know each other in those classes to where they do feel connected, so they're able to share openly, they're able to, really feel at home, feel welcome. So putting this image in really captures the essence. I feel when you are advocating for your students, they feel that you are taking pride in what they're doing. They feel that you're working hard, trying to showcase their talent, trying to teach them as much as you can possibly teach them. And, they're rewarded, and they reward you with their effort, I feel. So this is, again, an image from an art show, just all the students. You can see for this show, we had to do tie-dye. So it was like a regular tie-dye t-shirt design that they were able to do. One important thing, if you can get yourself 2, 3, 4, a nice group of really supportive parents that are really enthusiastic about art and about your program, your experience will be amazing. There are 2 parents in particular throughout my high school experience that I can't speak enough about, just in terms of their support and their love for not only their kids, but all of the art students. And I feel like because they were able to see us really, as teachers, doing as much as we could do for them, that they were able to reward and repay and pay it forward, for the students. So a lot of times they were, like before we even said, we need food, they were on top of it with, having donations or soliciting donations, help recruiting other parents, recruiting other students to be in the class. It's an amazing experience when you have definitely supportive parents. But that definitely helps to add to just the sense of community, students being engaged, other parents possibly being engaged as well. So here is, I mentioned this earlier, at some of the art shows, we started doing different stations. So this was actually really successful. It allowed some of the visitors that were there. It allowed, just other people that were there to actually create some hands-on work. So here you can see the t-shirts that one of my coworkers did. Actually, him and his class, they did the screen for, so they were able to print those. But when it all else fails, or if you're able to have stations at your art events in order to, help gain interest of parents, of administrators, of different students that might not normally take an art class, it's definitely a way to, advocate for your program, create a sense of community, because your students are teaching other people how to create, which is also an awesome experience in itself. But a lot of times, you'll have a follow up from a student that created something and they'll come and maybe want to take your art class. So it's definitely a way to grow your program, make your students more visible, and allow them to, kind of give back in a sense to their community. One successful thing that I was able to do with my AP class, which I felt like really helped them to open up and really talk and engage and share with each other, was this prompt. So I posted this on the board, and actually I did this virtually. I set up different meetings that they had to kind of rotate through. So they did the same questions. So, asking them about their sustained investigation, talking about revision, their interest in that inquiry, so on and so forth. But it was just the conversations, if you could kind of float around the room and just how engaged they were, the questions they were asking, really thoughtful questions, insightful questions, awesome feedback that they were giving each other. It was just a really great experience, really great moment, I feel like, not only for them, but for me, in terms of just them sharing and seeing them share and seeing them really vested in their art experience was amazing. So artist talks, I mentioned that before as well. We've actually had several different artist talks. This is one of my coworkers from when I was about 7 years ago. Kevin Cole, he came in and spoke with my AP students. He shared, some things about the AP program. And again, afterwards he stuck around, they asked him questions about his work. He's a professional artist. They asked him questions about his work, about, some of the AP reading. So just, the silence in the room and how intently they were listening and taking notes was awesome. Another artist came in, Michimiko, actually a parent from my old school had a connection with him and invited him in to speak to students. So that was an awesome experience. Taking students out of the classroom also to draw in the dance studio is also another really good idea in terms of just allowing them to, again, see that art can be created outside of the classroom. So I felt like it kind of took a little bit of the pressure off in terms of, sitting at your desk and creating. So they were able to, go to the dance studio and draw. And I feel like, later on, they'll remember that experience. Another way to kind of build and bud community is through getting groups together so they work on different group projects. So the young ladies at the computer are coming up with the design for the house. Sandy Springs Sparkle event every year comes up, and you work with the group to design the house and then paint the house, and then they come pick it up. So that's a really big event, so every different businesses and schools, host the house or design the house and have it on showcase for the community to see and enjoy. They can actually walk in it, take pictures and things like that. So definitely a great way to kind of build community, not only amongst these young ladies, but also, the visitors. They were able to bring their parents and kind of showcase and show off what they did and be proud and take pictures. So that was a great experience for them. And then inviting my old students. Now, my old students are awesome. Once they graduate, a lot of them will come back and speak and share things that they've learned, things that they've done, their experience after high school. So again, I think that started with the idea of, giving back in high school, in some of the art classes. So the fact that they're still willing and able to come back and share and give back, I feel like, is the epitome of community, because they're still doing it and still thriving in terms of sharing and being willing to share, as adults. So Another thing that I was able to do was host a couple of art shows for some of my students that graduated. So here you have one of my former students, actually from my second or third year of teaching, and this is my 14th year. I hosted an art show for him. So he came back and did an art talk, and we connected online. No, he was a volunteer in my school, and he saw my name and he came down and said hello, and he shared his artwork. So the conversation started with him volunteering in the school as an adult, and then we still keep in touch now. He actually did a video for my students recently while virtual, talking about some of his collage work. So it just baffles me still that students are still willing to come back and share a lot of their work and a lot of their experiences that started in my classroom. So definitely part of the awesome community is awesome teachers. So getting to know teachers not only in your school, but definitely in your area, your feeder schools. If you're going to conferences, definitely building some connections with teachers from across your state. So I've presented a few times at the GAEA conference, fingers crossed for NAEA. Done some professional developments, for my county, and, just that connection, that community that has started amongst art teachers in my county. I feel like even if they go to, or if we go to a different county, that connection will still be there. Like I feel like they'll still be able to feel like they can still reach out, and if they need help or have questions or whatever. Another opportunity that I had was writing curriculum for the state of Georgia. So I was able to meet some other art teachers, some awesome art teachers in that experience. So whenever you have or you're able to take part, whether it be volunteer or paid, whether you're able to take part in an experience where you're meeting other teachers, connecting with other teachers, especially in your content area, definitely take advantage. So whether that's, scoring portfolios, writing curriculum, volunteering, definitely make those connections when you can. So this is some other professional developments and some other GAEA conferences or presentations that I did. And again, tweeting those out. So when you have those opportunities, tweeting out, so that way you're sharing, with your other art teachers in your district. You're sharing information with your coordinator. You're sharing information with your administrators. So it all helps to establish that community that is so important in the arts. So one of the last things I wanted to talk about was this event for Youth Art Month that we did in 2018. So Youth Art Month is the month of March, and also it's Music in Our Schools month. So I collaborated with the band department, and they were able to provide music and entertainment while teachers actually came and painted. So they had a theme. We had music, we had sparkling cider, and some light refreshments like chips, I think it was. And students were able to teach teachers and guide teachers through a painting. So this was a great experience. I actually took video and tweeted it out again. So again, whenever you can, take as many pictures as you can and share. And it also helps to give other teachers ideas. So you never know who you're inspiring or connecting with just by sharing what you're doing in your classroom or in your school. So this experience definitely allowed teachers to create, be engaged in the art process. And, they took their artwork with them and shared it and advocated for the arts through that experience of just sharing, their awesome experience they had during lunch. So, I thank you so much for listening and being here to hear me discuss tonight's topics, and I'll see you in the next webinar.